Hello and welcome to the World Discord Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brian Endless.
I'm one of your hosts, Joel Ostrow. Hi, Brian.
And
How you doing today?
I'm good, Joel. How are you? It's May Day, by the way. I'd like to wish you
Mayday,
a very
Mayday.
happy May
We
Day.
need everyone in America should be screaming Mayday.
We should, and we should be out protesting, but instead we're in here taping a podcast. But it's about one of the things a lot of people will protest on. So we're providing our support to the protest. For those of you who don't know, by the way, May Day is often seen as a commie holiday in the United States, but it was founded here with the Haymarket riots in Chicago. And at some point in time during the commie scare under McCarthy, they had to change May Day to Labor Day. Otherwise, we all might have become communists or something. I don't know how that exactly works, but it's a workers' day. It's a day to protest in favor of workers' rights, and that's a big thing that's happening right now.
It is a big thing that's happening right now. Brian, the subject we're talking about now, you know that I've been saying this for over a year now. It
I
is
do,
what
and
people,
actually,
it
go
is
ahead.
what people would protest about, but it's what virtually nobody's talking about.
And to be fair, it's not just a year, it happened for 4 years before this. We're
It
going to
did.
be talking about corruption, and very specifically, this is our series on who benefits. And today's episode is who benefits inside the Donald Trump family. How
And
is
if you
Donald Trump?
haven't listened to the first general episode on who benefits, what
You
kind of
should have listened
degenerate
to it.
are you that you're not following the World Discord podcast?
It was a good one. A lot of
It was a
people have told me it was a good episode. So
So you've been
I've
talking to
heard,
yourself again.
I have, yeah, no, I've heard that.
Cool.
You told me too. So, what are we talking about with who benefits? This whole idea of corruption in the United States, believe it or not, public officials, including the president, are not supposed to be corrupt. It's even in the damn Constitution. The Constitution has something called the Emoluments Clause or clauses. It is Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, and Article 2, Section 1, Clause 7 of the Constitution deal with foreign and domestic emoluments. And all that big word means is any profit, gain, salary, or advantage received in exchange for services or from holding an office. Translation, you ain't allowed to make money off of being the president of the United States, or by definition, any family members or people close to the president or any elected office.
That's right.
This is one U.S. presidents have taken seriously for a long time up until now. Harry Truman was famous for not even wanting to lend his name to a business even after he retired. Richard Nixon, the guy who many people think was corrupt, was so careful on this. He had a brother who was accused of profiting off of him, and he had that brother's phone tapped. Maybe not surprising for Nixon. Jimmy Carter sold his peanut farm, his primary business. George W. Bush dumped all his individual stock holdings. And then we come to Donald Trump, the current and former president of the United States. I'm just going to throw out the basic numbers and you can start talking about the specifics, Joel. First term, 2017 to 21, we kind of thought Trump was a little bit corrupt. He took in somewhere roughly between 1.6 and 1.8 billion dollars in revenue from different businesses that he was in that benefited from him being president. That seemed pretty bad at the time. And now we move to term two. And the numbers keep going up. There's a bunch of trackers out there on the web. Right now, the best numbers I'm finding as of today is the Trump family has taken over $2.2 billion in risk-free profits from foreign and domestic investments. And that doesn't count about 9.7 billion, almost $10 billion of unrealized paper wealth from cryptocurrency and other investments around the world. So what the hell is happening here and how is this going on?
Well, yeah, and so the first thing is there are lots and lots of numbers. We will be discussing some, and they vary quite a bit. But I want to give a little background first.
Yeah.
First of all, very few are closely. There's very little follow the money happening, and it drives me nuts. And I do suspect that a lot of it is because virtually all of our media now are controlled by entities and individuals closely tied to Trump's inner circle. But
See it as so.
one person who is David Kirkpatrick from the New Yorker. Unfortunately, when it comes to anything we would call recognizable media reporting on the Trump family in particular, when it comes to profiteering off of this second Trump administration, they're all citing him. So there's almost no independent investigation that I was able to find beyond Kirkpatrick to verify and to go deeper. But
Right.
um,
Now, to be fair, there are a couple of different congressional committees, but they're all on the Democratic side
correct, and
that
they
are
act
tracking this. So different subcommittees on the Democrat side.
correct. I wanted to talk a little bit about the history. So, we have a political culture in the United States of America of deep suspicion of wariness of authority. And we always assume, or many people assume, that our elected officials are corrupt. But the United States, in fact, has always ranked near the bottom of the list, meaning among the least corrupt countries in the world. To give you an example, in 2015, Transparency International, which is the leading global monitor of government corruption, ranked the United States of America in 2015 as the 16th least corrupt country in the
Yeah.
world. Now, in Illinois, that might seem odd to us, given the number of governors and Brian in my lifetime who have ended up in prison. And the point I always
We're
tell my
special.
students is, no, but the point I tell my students always is, yeah, they ended up in prison. Tell
Right.
me other countries where that actually happens. We have had an independent judiciary, an independent FBI, an independent media. Blagojevich ended up in prison because Chicago Tribune investigative reporters uncovered things that were suspicious, and then U.S. Attorney Patrick Fitzgerald investigated it,
Yep.
charged him, arrested him, tried him, imprisoned him. That is what makes and has made the United States of America rank so well when it comes to corruption until 2015.
Yep.
By 2024, the United States ranked number 65 in on that list, and now the United States ranks as the 29th most corrupt country in the world. That was for 2025. We are the fastest accelerating in terms of level of corruption in the world, and it is important to note everywhere where a system like this has been created. Like Brian was talking about presidents earlier. But we can also go down the line, governors and mayors. The real Mayor Daley, as I call him,
Mhm.
right? The
The
boss.
first.
He had it was like a political dictatorship in Chicago, but he did not personally profit off of that. He was famously not financially corrupt.
Yep.
And the family did not get wealthy off of office, even under his son, who became mayor for what, 4 terms, 5 terms?
Yeah. No,
So
exactly.
it is really important to understand that the United States of America systemically was among the least corrupt. With this change in regime, we are seeing suspicious political actions like the Supreme Court's recent decision about gerrymandering and Republicans rushing. The MAGA party is about using office for personal gain. And with the example and the free hand that the White House has, the pardons that have been issued to formerly indicted, formerly imprisoned corrupt officials, we're going to see an explosion of corruption throughout American politics
Yeah.
if something doesn't change quickly. So that's sort of the background. I don't know if you want to jump
Well,
in.
a significant piece of this too is the corruption is possible because the justice system has been completely taken over by the executive. So the justice system has always been technically under the executive, the Justice Department and the FBI, but for pretty much all past presidents, they have been allowed to be independent entities. They don't work for the president, they're appointed by, and then they're independent. We have independent councils and we have independent judiciary, and that has all been pushed away.
Their first efforts with Musk was to get rid of inspectors general, to get rid of departments that that conducted any kind of internal investigations, internal audits. The House of Representatives, which has the primary role of holding of doing calling officials to testify and insisting on transparency. They've all capitulated. Actually, they're all
Yep.
part of MAGA is a core part of this corruption.
Right.
Um,
Well, and even the ones who aren't a part of it. So people at the top, your Mike
they
Johnson
enable it.
is just flat out evil in setting this up and in being a person who allows it to happen. The people at the bottom, even if they wanted to do something, we don't know if they do or
Right.
not. Trump's got them over a barrel because he can primary them and everybody
Yeah.
is scared of him and nobody's willing to say anything against him. There might be 20, 30, 50 House Republicans and people in the Senate who could actually believe this is a problem, but they don't have the guts to stand up because they won't have an office anymore.
Right.
And that's a big piece of what we're seeing is this isn't just the money. This is the entire system that has
Exactly.
been corrupted.
Should we get into the weeds with the weed whacker?
Let's do the weeds.
All right. So I do want to say, so Brian, you gave some numbers that come from web trackers. I actually have not looked at any of those, despite the fact that that you're Karl Marx and I'm to the right of John Maynard Keynes, to the left of John Maynard Keynes, not to
Right.
the right. On this stuff, I like to be extremely conservative. In other
Mhm.
words, the figures that I'm going to articulate, every single one of them is unreasonably low, but they're verifiable numbers.
Yeah.
A lot of this is my re-reporting of Kirkpatrick stuff because really that's all
Right.
that's available. In 2025, just the first 365 days of after Trump's return to office in January 2025, of the Trump family, Trump and his family raked in at least $5 billion. That is, again, there's no way it is that number is not a low estimate.
Right.
Um, and it is important to say that that this goal of profiting off of office is conscious, publicly stated, repeated over and over, most notably by Donald Trump Jr. That the goal of the family is to make as many business deals around the world as possible in this second term and to make as much money as possible in several stated areas. And in various interviews, he has mentioned real estate, cryptocurrency, media holdings, social media, minerals and mining, and energy more generally. But
Yep.
really, every sector is open to the Trump family. We're in future episodes, we're going to look at different areas and see who else in the inner circle. We're just focusing on the Trump family proper.
Right.
And there is no way to separate Donald Trump, his wealth, from the rest of the family. Everything is intertwined, not only in the Trump organization, but in all their businesses.
Yeah.
He has
I
not
think we can make a
tangled
little
himself.
separation with Jared Kushner because he actually does have some independent business interests. They cross over, but he's been making billions too.
Correct. It is also important to know that this $5 billion figure excludes, it does not count, and I wonder if the web trackers don't do this. It does not count what the Trump family would or would likely have made anyway. So, in other words, the $5 billion assumes that Mar-a-Lago and all of the hotels that they still own, rather than just have their name on, would have had continued capacity at the rates that they charged prior to his coming back to office. Now, the Mar-a-Lago membership fees have skyrocketed.
Oh yeah.
The nightly rates have skyrocketed. The $5 billion only includes that jump in charges for
So it's
membership.
being very conservative.
Very conservative. So none of these figures include anything that you can reasonably say they would have made anyway. That's so, and the goal of this is really to show the corruption in office. So
Yeah.
so why count what we assume they but it is being overly generous in categorizing what they would have made anyway.
Yeah, because
So,
some of those businesses could have tanked. It's
correct.
entirely possible that they wouldn't have done anywhere near as well.
So this is a quote from Kirkpatrick that puts all of this in perspective. Donald Trump is the first president in United States history to make so much money explicitly off of the White House itself for himself and his family. Money that actually goes right into his own pocket and his family's pocket that he can use at his pleasure either now or after he leaves office. Never before in American history has a president done this.
It's pretty insane.
It's pretty insane. And we're going to briefly talk about the few most dramatic areas in which the family is profiting from this. I want to say at the outset, and maybe we should have a conversation about this. If any other president in history, Democrat or Republican, had even been under suspicion for just one of the deals in any one of these
Yeah.
categories, they would have been impeached and removed from office, if not imprisoned.
I think it's very safe to say their own parties would have turned against them, Democrat or Republican. They certainly would have had enough people, and probably even the leadership of their own parties would have turned against them. This is a uniqueness of the Trump demagoguery in the MAGA era, that he has such control that he is able to get away with these things, and to get away with these things in broad public daylight, not even trying to hide them.
But I also think it's what we talked about in the last episode for you degenerates who didn't listen or watch. Uh, that this is also now, it may not have been explicitly the Republican Party purpose when we were talking about Reagan and Gingrich and even Bush up till now, but it is clearly the stated MAGA and Project 2025 purpose
Right.
to profit as much as possible off of office from actions both domestic and
Right.
foreign.
To be fair, since the 1980s at the very least, the Republican, and really since the 1980s, the Republican Party has been focused on enriching the richest, on cutting tax rates, on
Yes.
killing regulations that would cost too much money. You know, if people weren't allowed to pollute, that might cost them money, on those types of things, on giving subsidies and on tariffs, and the tariffs continue. But that was always for the plutocratic class, the incredibly
Correct.
rich people at the top, and never for the president directly. Project 2025 just flat out puts out there, by the way, the underlying goals of Project 2025 are still to make those people richer at the expense of all the rest of us,
Yeah.
or not caring about all the rest of us at the very least. But in this case, the idea is that if you expand the executive in these ways, you will give even more opportunities for massive wealth for the massively wealthy.
Correct.
So one of the things we're seeing here, and we don't have the reporting on this yet, we just have allusions to it, and we know it's happening because we see it happening in the stock market, but no one has proven it so far. How many people are getting insider information
Insider trading.
before
Yeah.
the president makes decisions, before
Yeah.
the president announces a tariff, before the president drops
Correct.
bombs on Iran, twice now, two different wars with Iran, before the president goes to war with Venezuela?
Correct.
If you have 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours notice
You
of
can
that
make
happening,
billions of dollars.
you're making fortune.
And I looked, but I could not find anything that directly attaches the Trump family to the insider trading. But if you think that the Trump family is not engaging in insider trading,
Oh, yeah.
contact me directly, Ostrow at ben.edu. I've got a couple of really nice bridges that you want to get in on.
Yep.
Okay, so let's start. This might be surprising, but the number one area in which the Trump family is profiting the most. Do you know what it is? Can you guess?
Well, I know what I would guess, but it can't be right. So I'm going to guess food service, flowers.
That is not correct.
Oh, sorry. How about real estate?
Nope.
Really?
Crypto. And it
The
isn't
new one.
even close, folks. It is not even close. So before 3 days ago, All right, let that sink in for a minute. Before 3 days ago, the estimate was that the Trump family, just from crypto alone, had profited on the order of about $2 billion. That's $2 billion, not in investments, that's money in their pockets.
Yep.
So, this, I don't understand crypto. I don't understand why crypto. I don't know what the bleep a token is. And I don't care what any of that
I
stuff is.
still think it's a Ponzi scheme, frankly, but they're
Of
on the
course.
right side of the Ponzi scheme.
So, these NFTs, uh, the Trump family had off of these tokens uh, profited to the tune of $975 million as of 3 days ago. And then other sorts of crypto deals was at another 125 million. And then they leveraged sale of Truth Social shares, which they used to
To fund,
profit from Bitcoin profits.
right,
So this is an additional $1 to $1.5 billion from which the profits directly into their pockets was about $750 million. And then for a while, there was this Trump coin thing where investors put in and then they took out $385 million. So
yep.
that's how we get to somewhere between, somewhere around 2 billion.
It's good to be the king.
However, comma, they created a new crypto called the World Liberty Fund International. It's like WLFI or WFLI. Again, I really don't care because my mind goes numb when I think about crypto.
Yep.
But they got $5 billion invested in it as seed money. And then reporting came out in Yahoo Finance, which I think broke it because the exact same figures and the exact same language then appeared in Forbes and Bloomberg and elsewhere. That they prevent now those, I guess the terms of that investment, they're not allowed to exit. Investors cannot pull their money out
Right.
for 2 years. And there are now many lawsuits from some of those investors against that because apparently that's illegal.
Right.
But anywho, 3 days ago, it came out that the Trump family borrowed against that $5 billion,
Of course.
$400 million, and then another 75 million apparently in the last 48 hours. So we're talking somewhere around, let's be conservative and say $400 million that they've pocketed against that $5 billion.
Yep. By the way, let's be clear.
Nuts. Like we're talking like 3 billion just out of crypto in a year.
This is the way that rich people make money and don't pay taxes on things normally. So it's not that this is specific to Trump. Elon Musk and many others are famous. Elon Musk, touts just actually absolutely trumpets the fact that he does this. When you have $1 billion in stocks, you borrow against that and you use that to live on, or you use that as pure profit, or you use it to invest in other things. This is a standard behavior, but now it's the president of the United States doing it on something that he and his family created.
And Musk has at least some background connected to digital things. Donald Trump has none.
Right.
Donald Trump, and can you guess who went in with Donald Trump on this crypto venture?
Somebody in the family?
Negative. Steve
Who went in?
Witkoff, a name we'll hear about over and over in future.
See, I think Steve Witkoff is in the family. He's like family to Donald. So I think of him as in the family.
If Donald Trump has
Steve Witkoff, in case you miss it, working with Jared Kushner on Middle East peace, even though neither of them has anything except business interests in the past in the Middle East.
No. And Witkoff, if Donald Trump has no experience in tech, Witkoff has less than that.
Yep.
And they so the that $5 billion investment and the ability to take a $400 million loan against that and pocket it, those things happen because and only because Donald Trump occupies the White House.
Yeah.
No way with that anyone puts a dime into Trump with crypto.
No. Well, and one of the things too that we're seeing here, and this is something that we know Jared Kushner did right after Trump left office in 2021, and this has been going on since that time and really escalated. Kushner got in with several different states in the Middle East that
Well,
had
that's
sovereign.
later. That's another
Okay,
category.
we'll hold that one off for a second, but I'll just start it here. But
We're just
sovereign
talking
wealth
about
funds,
crypto.
right, sovereign wealth funds that gave Kushner's new company $2 billion for basically nothing, just because he was related to Donald Trump. And now we've been seeing even more of that, as these sovereign wealth funds are the ones that are buying the things that Trump is putting out there, and they are investing money, even though it's really just an investment in influence, and it's not going to make them any real money.
But why is crypto the number one area where they're making the most money? Because very few people understand what it is. Most people don't. And I would venture to say that most people are like me on this. I don't even want to because they just give
It's
me a headache.
it's
And
also
so
not
it is an
tracked
area.
well, and the
It is
laws are
not
weak
tracked.
on it.
That's the whole purpose of it. And it's extremely lucrative because multi-billionaires play around in these highly risky investments. It is important again to say the Trump family is not investing in crypto. The Trump family is getting others to invest in crypto, and then they are taking that money. This is going to come back to haunt us because when bankruptcies happen, ultimately the costs of financing those bankruptcies falls on the entire population
Yep.
through whether hiked insurance rates or taxes or bank fees. Like
Or
eventually,
direct
that's
bailouts for the
the
people who
trickle down
cheated their way into
or
it.
direct bailouts, right?
Yeah.
So that's the trickle down is the cost.
Yep.
Uh,
Absolutely. The costs always trickle down, though. That's the way it's worked. That's what trickle down's really all about. Profits trickle up, costs trickle down.
and when they've pocketed $400 million, again, this is conservative, probably by a factor of two or three. They don't care if the crypto succeeds or fails.
No.
They've made their money. They didn't put anything in. They got others to put in. They borrowed the 400 million against it. And then if they can't pay back the borrow, they'll declare bankruptcy and we'll pay. They won't know
Yep.
what.
Yeah, and Donald Trump actually has said since the book The Art of the Deal, when you owe the bank $10,000, the bank owns you. When you owe
Yep.
the bank $100 million, you own the
You
bank.
own the bank. Yep.
That's it. That has been his philosophy for decades.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a charlatan.
So, what are we looking at besides crypto? You hinted
Take a
there's more.
guess. What's number
What's that?
two?
What's number two? I'm going to go real estate again, but you might tell me that's wrong.
Um, it depends how you want to count. So I counted real estate as number two, but probably finance deals would really be number two because you mentioned the $2 billion that Jared got from the Saudis.
That was for a real estate fund, though, to be fair.
It's his private equity company
Yeah.
that he created,
Yes.
technically.
Yeah.
So there's no requirement on how he uses that.
That's
But
true.
if you want to put it in the, so let's just leave that because that's kind of a catch-all category
Right.
that might be number two.
Yeah.
Real estate, hotel deals abroad.
Yep.
Uh, we know about deals in the Gulf because that's been quite open. There was a large deal, oddly enough, with Vietnam.
Yep.
You knew about that. I
I did.
didn't until this
No,
week.
I'd heard about that one. Yep.
So those two alone amount to $300 million. Again,
Yeah.
extremely conservative.
Yeah.
And then another 300 to 500 million from other deals we don't know as much about, but most of those are going outside of the immediate family. Again, we're not talking about the inner circle.
Yep.
Witkoff is making millions of dollars, at least in promises, for real estate deals in Russia.
Right. And Witkoff is not a billionaire to the best of my knowledge, is he? He's just a
I think he is.
multi-millionaire.
I think billionaire,
Oh, he might.
but
Okay.
I'd never heard of him before.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't know exactly like what the plans are, but we've heard Trump talk about, say, turning Gaza into a tropical resort paradise
Right. Well, that is actually
all over it.
Kushner in the first term was the
No,
one who talked about that, and he's the one who put the idea into Donald's head, into his father-in-law's head, that Gaza would make a great resort, a great hotel
correct.
resort, and the two of them have apparently talked about that since. And now there's the formal plans out, and Kushner is still driving it, and Kushner and Witkoff are trying to push it, and I don't know that it would ever happen because it would be the worst thing probably that ever happened to the Palestinian people in Gaza, even worse than some others, because they would just be pushed out of the country if that went on after all the death
Yeah,
and destruction.
yeah.
This would be a massive insult on top of massive injury. Oh, and by the way, since we have the Google, I did just look Witkoff up, and I was incorrect. You were corrected. He is worth about $2 billion.
2 billion.
So
Yeah,
not much in the billions. He's just a low
well,
billionaire,
a petty billionaire.
a petty billionaire. Yeah.
Well,
It's like petty
he's a
bourgeoisie,
petty
except with
bourgeois.
billions.
He's a petty
Yeah,
billionaire.
yeah.
A new category. um, so yeah, I mean the real estate deal. If we think about a future in which Gaza, for example, gets rebuilt under some future deal, the Trumps have carved out already control over a lot of that.
Yeah.
Trump slash Kushner.
Yep. Absolutely. No,
But
no
we just
question.
don't know, and we don't know the specifics. But Trump has long wanted to have his name on buildings across Russia, at least in the major cities,
Hmm.
Moscow, St. Petersburg. I had heard before of Vladivostok because of its proximity to Japan and China.
Yep.
Um, and that explains a lot of the cozying up to Putin. There's just more money to be made there than, say, in Ukraine.
And you may be going into this later, but when I think of the Middle East and Gaza, I also think of the Board of Peace. And, Trump talked the Security Council into approving the Board of Peace, supposedly to bring peace to Gaza. And Trump immediately changed it and set up a wider Board of Peace and made himself the permanent for life president, executive director of the Board of Peace. And everybody who wants in has to pay $1 billion. And that $1 billion is basically a bribe to Donald Trump to get on his good side. And we don't know where the money's going. And
We don't know where that money is going, and
the
so
U.S.
that's
government's put money into that. Other governments have put money
right,
into it.
right.
Nobody's
But so
investing in that. It's not going toward peace.
I don't know how much, who, if anyone, has paid that $1 billion. I don't have this in my little summary of the Trump winnings, as it were,
Uh-huh.
precisely because nobody has. I am aware of no investigative reporting trying to follow where that money has gone.
Yep.
There was briefly at the beginning when he first announced it, but I've heard nothing since. And I'd almost forgotten about it. Like
Yeah.
I didn't specifically look, but when I was looking at Trump family profiteering off of it, it
Right.
doesn't show up anywhere.
Well, the last time I saw it, it was somewhere around 8 or 9 countries had done $1 billion apiece, and then the U.S. government, Trump has requested $10 billion from the U.S. government, but I don't know if that's been approved yet. So that one may still be being
Yeah.
held up, but that's another 10 to 20 billion dollars that is sitting out there that he will have personal access to, and he's the decision maker on how it's used. So even if it doesn't go directly into his pockets, it funds the things he wants to fund and sets up, buys the Trump hotel. It has Gaza pay for the Trump hotel if necessary.
Can you guess what the next one is?
Oh, I'm going to go back to flowers and books, but no, what is it?
Close.
Clothes.
Merch.
Oh, does that count Bibles?
Bibles,
Commemorative coins?
hats, remember the pictures of the office just off the Oval Office with
I do.
all the little gadgets,
Yeah.
hats flags, but we're also putting gifts in there. So
Oh,
profit off of merch and profit off of gifts. And the biggest gift is that 747 modernized that the
yeah.
Qataris, that's
Yeah,
estimated
although didn't I
at a
hear a
quarter of
couple
a
weeks
billion.
ago that Qatar's asked for that back when the war against Iran started and they
Yeah,
started
good
getting
luck.
missiles?
Yeah.
There was a request to get that back. I don't know if they followed through
Trump's
on
not
it.
known for issuing refunds.
No, exactly.
Yeah. So that's that jet, which for reasons that nobody can understand other than that we are no longer a country that can be described as having the rule of law. That was gifted privately to Trump, not to
Right.
the government of the United States of America.
Well,
That's
no, 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 no,
$250
no. My understanding is it was gifted to Trump publicly,
and then
but
he gets to have it after.
it would be transferred to him afterwards. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Or to his library for his use as part of the library.
Yeah. So that's a $250 million gift. I the merch is said to amount to 50 million or less.
Oh, that's
So,
nothing.
but the Qatari jet's a big one, and if we're putting that and other such gifts, the estimates are around $400 million total.
Yeah, I can't
Because they
remember the
took a lot
number.
of
If you're a U.S. Congressperson or president or other things, is it any gift over $500 or is it $250? You have to report as taxed money, so you can
it's
be
something
taxed
like
on anything over.
it is under $1,000.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that is
So
correct.
it's fun.
And Donald Trump is routine, like every time he meets with a foreign head of state, he's getting gifts that are worth tens or hundreds of thousands of
Oh
dollars
yeah,
each.
no, absolutely.
He's a man who likes his gold
Yep,
and his Big Macs.
right. And
Actually,
by the
is
way,
it Big Macs or
U.S.
quarter pounders? I can't remember which
He's
ones.
Big Macs.
He's
He's Big Macs. Yeah, Big Macs and Diet Coke. Very important to have the Diet Coke to go with it.
Oh, well,
To
you
be
remember our department chair at Loyola, but we won't say more about
fair,
that.
to be fair, by the way, every U.S. president gets gifts in the past, and it is seen as a gift to the United States of America, and
Correct.
it stays in the White House when they leave. It's not a gift to the person; it's a gift to the country. So that's not
Sometimes they
one
go
part.
to their presidential library. Like
Occasionally,
the government is then technically the U.S. government is then gifted those gifts to the presidential library,
right,
but they're not. But those libraries are their own sort of independent organizations.
right.
Right? Uh, Barack Obama does not profit from or own the presidential library. Um, so yeah, so that's
All right.
fun.
Any other big categories?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
uh, and for a while, there was actually news reporting on this until Trump became president, and then all of the news media seemed to have capitulated, turning campaign money into pocket money.
Yeah.
And there are several super PACs, particularly around legal fees.
Right.
Uh, so, if you remember, there were these lawsuits that he was involved in during the campaign,
Right.
and he had his campaign organizations seeking donate, like those emergency emails would go out, money needed for the campaign, people would donate, they would then use those funds legally for campaign legal fees
Yep.
because he put everything related to lawsuits that he was involved in as necessary as part of his campaign.
Right.
He pocketed the money because most
Yep.
of those cases ended up not going anywhere.
Yep. Now, this is an interesting one, by the way, and we're starting to get into when Trump was not president in the 4 years in between. The
But it's
Supreme Court.
continued.
The Supreme Court has now officially said that he can do whatever he wants to as
Correct.
president and not face any charges for it afterwards. That is criminal charges, by the way. So we
Correct.
do need to be clear on that. Things he did in between, so the things that the campaign did in between, he could still be charged with after he is out of office. That's a possibility. I don't know that it's going to happen, but it could
Yeah,
happen.
well, you're smoking on that one.
Yep. And the people around him could be charged with things, but that just makes it a little bit more likely that he's going to give a blanket pardon to family members and others when he leaves office and make sure that they can't be charged with anything either. But they can still be charged at a civil level or at a state level. So there's some
But
possibility there.
but he still has super PACs connected to his campaign fund. He can still use that money.
Yeah.
So 250 million after January 21st of 2025.
Yep.
It's not counting what he pocketed before that. 250 million has come in afterwards
Yep.
that he is able to pocket.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, and by the way, normally you would think that a politician would spend that on their party. One of the things that people are pissed off at Trump and the Republican Party about is he doesn't spend much on other MAGA candidates. He puts his name behind them and visits, but he doesn't put much money into that at all. That super PAC is for him.
uh, Another 125 million, again, a gross underestimate in media deals and the lawsuits, his lawsuits and settlements against media, which really those, multi-billionaires who are in control of
Yeah,
basically all of our media consider that as just donations to Trump to keep them in his good
yeah,
graces so
it's
they
a
can get
direct
more
transfer. Yeah,
direct transfers. Yeah. And that includes quote unquote investments in Truth Social, which is
yeah,
live social.
yeah. You may
Um,
be getting into this one, but you're making me think about it. How much is Donald Trump suing his own IRS for right now?
that comes under that last category that will hold off for 1 second.
Okay,
That catch-all category.
okay,
Um, Kirkpatrick, the New Yorker
right,
reporter, separates out Mar-a-Lago.
okay,
Now, I'm not sure why. Like, I am interested in knowing. So Donald Trump has his name on buildings all over the place.
right.
Like the Trump Tower in Chicago, Trump and his family have nothing to do with it. They just
Well,
have the name.
most of them he doesn't own anymore. He just
But some he
licenses his name.
does. The one in Washington he
Uh-huh.
does, and there's some others. I have to assume the ones that they own, they've jacked up the rates for, but none of this is just Mar-a-Lago. Increased membership fees, like for the golf course and the
Right.
club, increased access fees, like to stay for a few nights, like if you're not a member. Just in the first 365 days, the increased profit is $125 million.
Oof.
And that
It's a
is an
nice little sum.
underestimate.
Yeah. And it seems so small compared to the billions, and yet it's such a gigantic amount of money.
Well, and consider it's an underestimate, and consider that that was just the first year.
Right.
So you're talking close to $1 billion,
Yeah.
right?
And
But
that
these
kind
are
of access, by
gross
the way,
underestimates. Like this is just what they're able to verify.
that kind of access
Hmm.
comes with hundreds of millions and possibly billions of dollars of
Donate.
insider information that is going out there, and some of it's been reported on very directly.
Right. Like it factors into um, the donations for the legal fees,
Yeah.
the investments in the various cryptos and other sort of, pardon me, bullshit entities that they create just to profit off of.
Yep.
Um, so we add all this up, and if we then go conservative, we're at about 4.5 billion. But then there's these shady finance deals. The $2 billion to Jared's private equity company from the
Yep.
Saudi sovereign fund, sovereign
Yep.
wealth fund, that basically he can do with whatever he wants, as far
Right.
as we know. Um, Jared has banked 320 million of that we know about directly into like private personal bank account.
Yeah.
Um, and there are similar deals that Donald Jr. and Eric have concluded much less than that. That can be documented somewhere around 20 to 30 million. Donald Trump is suing the IRS for, I believe it's $3 billion.
Yep. Because
One,
they did him wrong, and he's suing his own IRS with his own appointed IRS chief executive,
correct.
who may just say, "Yeah, no, we can't even go to court on this one. We've got to pay this one because we were wrong."
And he's suing the Justice Department
Yep.
for a couple $100 million.
Once
Uh,
again, same thing. The old Justice Department lied about him, and it was terrible. And the new Justice Department, they just can't see their way to blocking this settlement, so they're just going to have to pay it off.
so what we don't know are the other settlements with the law firms, with the universities. Where is all of that money going?
Yeah, we have no idea. I'm very interested in whether we're ever going to have an idea on this.
I doubt it.
Because
There's so
in
much.
most administrations, there are your tell-all books afterwards. But this is all stuff where too many of the people, there aren't that many people that will actually know, and too many of the people that actually know have a vested
Right,
financial interest in not
right,
telling people about it.
right.
So unless he pisses somebody off, like his lawyer or something like that, as he's done in the past, unless he pisses somebody off in that category, we may never know.
And again, um, very few journalists are doing any kind of serious investigative reporting on this. The only one who's been published, has been repeated often, is this New Yorker article. I
Yeah.
assume he's going to continue to follow it.
And I want to go
Gill,
back to the beginning again and restate this. Journalists are not doing investigative reporting because the owners of
are not
their
allowing it.
venues will not allow them to do
Right.
that
That is
investigative reporting.
100% correct. We don't have a
They are
free press
benefit.
anymore in this country.
Yeah.
Um, so, but it's got to be several $billion worth of settlements with those, those gigantic corporate law firms and the universities. But because we don't know if or how much of that money has gone directly into funds that Trump and his family can use personally, it doesn't factor into this.
Yep.
I want to sum this up. Family members of presidents and other elected officials in the United States, for time immemorial, have profited off of the name. They've given speeches with high speaker fees. They've been able to get investments for businesses from people who hope to gain access.
Mhm.
That has always been the case, right? We don't prevent family members of elected officials from doing things. The line gets drawn at the elected officials
Right.
themselves.
And the
And there's
family members may not directly benefit in
correct.
terms of the elected
Right.
official handing them something.
Right. Yeah. Um, Never has anything been even in the same galaxy as any of this. This is coordinated, conscious intent by Trump and his family to profit from the office.
Yep.
And none of this even begins to cover profits that they might be making off of the personality cult.
Right.
Um, will Trump or Trump's family make money off of the Kennedy Center now?
Yeah.
Trump's got his name on the United States Institute for Peace. Do they have access to those funds?
Yeah.
And then the personality cult, pardon me, but that too contributes to the ability to profit. So anyone who's been in DC in the last 8 months sees these giant banners of Trump,
Oh yeah.
like we've been seen of Stalin in
Like it's
Moscow or
well,
Mao.
and it's like it's a petty dictator in a tiny country.
He's got his name on an airport in Palm Beach now,
Yeah.
naming a class of battleships after himself. Like all of this personality cult stuff. There's Trump RX that kind of fits with the merch category.
I kind of put that one up there with Trump steaks and Trump wine. I don't know if that one will ever go anyplace, but it's something to talk about. I honestly think though, and again, I want to do a callback to something you said earlier. The numbers we're putting out are absolutely nothing compared to the insider trading that is
Correct.
coming out of this and the moves in the stock market as insanely wealthy people are getting insanely
Yep.
wealthier
Yep.
off of these things. And then we can talk about things like Kalshi and the outside markets that are trading on these things,
Yeah.
and we have no idea what's really happening there.
And
It's
we'll be
just,
covering that stuff in future episodes, and some of it will be speculation.
yeah,
Our goal in the future episodes is to identify non-Trumps, cabinet
correct.
members, donors, other inner circle types
Yeah.
who are raking in billions of
in,
dollars.
in industries. The
Industry.
oil and
Yep.
excuse me, fossil fuels industry will be another example there. So, Joel, I'd just like to conclude this here by saying that it's obvious I don't agree with anything you've said. Joel is a
No.
conspiracy theorist. That's
Yes.
JOELOSTROW for anyone who's
Right.
noting it. I do think, though, you're pretty damn safe because nobody's going to want to let you go to discovery on this in a lawsuit and actually
Yeah.
get behind the
Yeah.
scenes and
Yeah.
find out what's going on. So I
Yeah.
think I might side with you a little bit more here. I think we're pretty safe on this one. This is all stuff that's out there, folks. These are not things we made up. We've been giving conservative numbers here today. It
Very
is
conservative.
likely so much worse, and this is new in America. This is not standard. This is not
This
boilerplate.
is Mobutu Sese Seko level corruption. This
Yeah,
is Vladimir
absolutely.
Putin level corruption. Um, my prediction is in the Transparency International uh, rankings of at the end of 2026, the United States is going to be among the 10 most corrupt countries in the world,
Could
corrupt
be.
governments in the world.
Yeah. Could very well be. It's going to
Yeah.
be hard to drop that far. If we're already in the bottom 30, but that would be an interesting record if we hit that. That would be absolutely,
Well, we've gone from
insane.
65 to 29 in 1 year.
Right.
So, you
Yeah.
know,
So,
it's
all
pretty
right.
good.
Anything else we need to talk about, or are we just going to save it for future weeks?
Let's save it for future weeks.
Excellent. Thank you to all of you who are listening. Thank you to David for producing. Keep up with the Who Benefits series. We're on YouTube. We're wherever you get podcasts, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Bye, Joel.
Bye, everybody. Find ways to profit.
Bye.